I am thrilled to be here, and I'm not just saying that. First off, your lovely weather here in Northern Ireland is impressive. As almost every day's been sunny, nice and cool, and not a spot of rain. And you guys do it well. So I just want you to know I'm in on it. That was exciting. And we've been to a couple places. Brother Nick here has been taking us on he's a decent tour guide. But Derek is another question. I'll just leave that one aside. But we've been having such a wonderful time. And let me just encourage you to really stop at these. I've gotten to know, I think, just about everyone at one of these booths back here. There's some amazing information for you back there. If you would just introduce yourself, hear what they're saying, take some literature with you. That is some exciting stuff back there, and I thank God for them being here. And I thank God for you being here. So, maybe you need to get to know me a little bit better. Let me tell you a little story which may help you understand. I grew up in a real rural area of the country. Very backwoods. One day when I turned 16, I'm talking about backwoods, okay? My dad had never been in a big city. I'd never been in a big city. So my dad decided he was going to take me into the big city. And one of the first places we went to this 3-story mall. We were amazed by everything we saw, but especially by 2 shiny silver walls that could move apart and slide back together. I'm like, this is amazing. I said, Dad, what is this? And Dad says, I've never seen anything like it before, my son. And we're having this dialogue about it, and all of a sudden, we're watching as this fat old lady in a wheelchair rolls up into these moving walls, presses a button, the walls close. We watch the small circular numbers above the walls light up sequentially. We continued to watch until it reached the last number. Then the numbers began to light in reverse order. Finally, the walls opened, and out stepped this gorgeous 24-year-old blonde woman. My dad, not taking his eyes off the young woman, said quietly to me, son, go get your mother. That's how backwoods I grew up. Seriously, though, that did not happen. But I grew up in 300 people, in a town of 300 people. Our high school, if they had stayed there, we would have had a graduating class of about 14. Just a very small town. Nothing good was going to come out of this town. But can I just encourage you about something? If God gets a hold of you, He's able to do things that the world can be amazed. I'm reading Hebrews 11. Look at those people. They're just normal people. And as God started getting a hold of my heart, I said, you know what, God, I don't know if you'll ever do anything great with me, and that's okay. I just want you to do something with me. I only have one life. And you only have one life. And it will soon be past. And I can tell you right now, my life has flown by faster than I could ever imagine. And here I am tonight in Northern Ireland, just sharing a heart with you with passion. And I want to be an encouragement to you this week. I really do. I am not here to tell you I have all the answers, because if you think I do, you probably just ought to get your money back now and go hang out at the pub tonight. No, don't do that. But something else, because I don't have all the answers. But I really have some passion I want to share with you. And I want to share it with you from the bottom of my heart, and I want to be an absolute blessing to you. I greet you from across the pond, the big pond. I live in Maryland, if you're familiar with that. If you can think of the East Coast of the United States, I'm about one of the middle states, if that gives you an idea. Just north of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And Brother Mark will tell you more about himself later. I've been involved in pastoring for 30 years at the same church. Now, to give you some reasons why it worked out this way, when I began into the ministry, I just kind of asked God a favor. I said, God, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to ask you a favor. Would it be okay with you that I could raise my family in one location? A lot of pastors move around. I just didn't want to do that. I'm not faulting anyone for doing it. I just didn't want to do that. And God was graciously answering that question. And I've been able to raise my children in a community, and I'm thanking God for that. And now the church doesn't know how to get rid of me. I've been there so long, so it's probably a disadvantage for them. But I am certainly glad to be here. I just consider myself a servant of the Lord. I don't bring anything special, but I am a servant of the Lord. I've often shared with people, if you can get the picture, And I love the story where the little boy, the bag lunch, came to Andrew one day. Remember what was in that bag lunch? It was 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and he brings this happy meal to Andrew, who then brings him to Jesus. And I say, that's kind of me. The only difference in me and that little boy in that story is by the time I've gotten that bag lunch and I've beat it against my leg all day long, there's a big hole in it, everything's coming out of it, and I bring this bag to Jesus with a big hole in the bottom of it. And that's exactly how I feel. I bring nothing to the table, but I lean heavily on the grace and mercy of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I'm convinced He's able to take the things which are not to confound the wise and the mighty and noble. I come in the confidence of Jesus Christ tonight, not in myself. I was fortunate I grew up in a Christian home. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Gave my life to Christ probably around 17. It may have been earlier, but it was not lasting. I could see a lasting fruit in my life. So I say I was a junior in high school when it happened. Went on to Bible college, blessed to do that. My mom was a postmaster, run the postal service, and all the mail came through her. I filled out applications to 2 colleges. One was a Christian one, and one was a secular one. Now, I'm only going to just tell you this because I know she's too old for people to prosecute, but only the mail for the Christian college got back to me. Now, I thought that's called tampering with the mail, but I guess it was my mom, and she has the right to do so. And God honored that and went on. After that, I went and taught in a Christian school for a few years. And God kept burning me about ministry, and the rest is kind of where I'm at. I'm married, have 4 daughters, since the gray hair that I have on my head. At one time, I had 4 teenage girls in my house, and a wife. And I immediately got a male dog to balance things out. That helped a lot. My oldest child is married, and we had my first grandson, so that's a pleasure. And he's about 10 months old. She teaches preschool in our Christian school. My wife's the administrator of this good Christian school. My second daughter is a nurse at a hospital nearby. And my 2 youngest are twins, and they're still in college. My youngest twin is preparing for missions. She thinks she's going to go somewhere on the mission field, which I'm thrilled about. All my 4 daughters love the Lord. I'm convinced that we can raise a godly generation. And I don't see why we should have our kids going astray. So I'm passionate about that. That's why I wrote a book on that, on parenting. My second from the youngest child has been battling Lyme disease. I'm not sure Lyme disease is very popular. It's a tick disease we have in our country. If a tick bites you, there can be some very serious side effects of it. And there was concern. She was a high school All-American athlete, national player of a championship tournament, very athletic, very capable. And next thing you know, got her in a wheelchair and weren't sure if we were even going to keep her. And through much prayer, she's back at school and playing. She had to redshirt 2 straight years of college just because of the pain of it all. But God's moving, and we're very grateful for the healing that we've seen. I pastor a Bible church. A Bible church, just to give you an idea, it's pretty much a basic fundamental. You can go on our website and see our doctrine. We believe in all the major doctrines of the faith. Some things we probably might not agree on doctrine things, but we agree on the Trinity and the Holy Spirit and the deity of Jesus Christ and the inspiration of Scriptures and the things I think are really dear to my heart. Let me share 3 truths that I want to encourage you about this week before we get into our lesson. I'm convinced God saved you to make a difference. I think too often we think of salvation simply as I get to go to heaven. That is great. Let me tell you something. Eyes not seen, nor ears heard, neither has entered the heart of man things God has prepared for us. Let me tell you something. This is not all there is. But I'm not waiting for that event. I want now to make a difference. I don't want to just go through life and say, what are you doing with your life? Well, I'm just kind of drifting through. I want to make the deepest impact I can make in the shortest amount of time that I have, because life is a vapor, James says. And I believe you can do the same. You're being equipped to make a difference. So you're called to make a difference, you're equipped to make a difference, and I'm confident that He can help you do it. Ronald Reagan, our 40th president, said this about the Marines. Some people wonder all their lives if they've made a difference. The Marines don't have that to worry about. Let me tell you something. You are God's Marines. Don't wonder all your life if you're going to make a difference. Just think of how few people in Northern Ireland are saved. And I don't know what the percentage is. What would you think the percentage is in Northern Ireland that's truly born again? Anybody got an idea? 4%? So it's a low number. We can say that, right? All right, then how many of the saved ones are being trained like you are in a weekend seminar? You've given up your Friday night. I mean, the number has got so. You're part of an elite group of people that, and I don't mean this disrespectful to anyone else, of some of the most important people in Northern Ireland that are here. You know, the church is the greatest force on the face of the earth, is it not? It's the church that he said, I will build, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And you're not only born again in the church, you've been called in a higher position. You're at a seminar, you're reading books, you're studying. That makes you part of a small group of people, which as far as I'm concerned, are some of the most important people to Northern Ireland. You may not work in that big white building we looked at today, and you may not be making the laws, but God is bigger than that building, and he's bigger than the laws. It's his church that he wants to bless to change the world. So do not look down about the fact that you're here. And I want to just encourage you, we're going to go on a journey tonight and tomorrow. And my prayer is to be an absolute blessing to you, encouragement to you. So let's get right into it. The first, and by the way, if you don't want to take notes, that's fine. All the answers will be here. And Pastor Nick can get you every answer. So if you're saying, I'd rather just listen, we'll get you all the answers. Don't feel like you have to write anything down. But if you prefer to write things down so you don't fall asleep, I respect that. Or get up and stand, whatever's easiest for you. The neglected men of the church. I am convinced that men are neglected. I believe the church is greatly neglecting the men of the church. And I'm going to give you some statistics to demonstrate why I believe that. Dr. Norman Geisler has been to our church. Some of you may know him, a tremendous apologist. He wrote the foreword for the book that you have. And you can read in there some things he says in the introduction. And I'm not here to brag on this book. I want you to hear my heartbeat. And it's just interesting. He said, he's been in 25 countries in 50 states. And he says, I finally found something that will work. He didn't do that for me. We're not even getting any money involved in this thing. He's just saying, you know what? We're missing something. And I believe it's the church. So we've been blessed to have him here. At his first visit, he sat down and said, what's going on? We told him our story. That's what I'm going to share with you, the story of how we're at. But I want you to remember something. This isn't about our church. This isn't about me. If somehow you leave this weekend thinking, man, what a church, or man, what a guy, I've totally misled you. But if you leave here today impressed with Jesus, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. And that's my goal, is that you focus on him, that you see him this weekend and not be impressed with him. Let me give you some statistics that I think are going to be helpful for you. Look at those statistics. Try to follow along with me. This is from a website called Church for Men. The typical U.S. congregation draws an adult crowd that's 61% female. Thank God for our ladies. The ladies were the last to see Jesus alive at the cross there. The ladies were the first at the tomb. If it wasn't for ladies, our churches would fold. We understand that. But do you see a problem? And I understand in Northern Ireland, I think, or in the UK, I think the percentage, Pastor Nick said, it's 65%. Do you see a problem? The typical U.S. congregation draws an adult crowd of 61%. On any given Sunday, there's 13 million more adult women in church than men. Where are the men? That's staggering to me. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I go after men. I am intentional about it. I don't apologize about it. I am very focused. I'm like sonar on men. Because I believe as your men go, so goes your church. And I believe that passionately. Passionately. On any given Sunday, 25% of married church-going women will worship without their husbands. Over 70% of the boys who are being raised in the church will abandon it in their teens and 20s. These are staggering things. I came across something the other day which was amazing. My parents' generation, the Busters, about 63% of them went to church. It's a high percentage, World War II, World War I family. I mean, they were church-going people, a lot of them. When we moved down to my generation, which will be more of the boomer world, it dropped to 35%. I thought, wow, this is staggering. Guess what the millennial percentage is? That's the 18 through 30s. It's 4%. Now look, I'm not a rocket scientist, but all of a sudden I see a problem. If fewer and fewer and fewer are coming to church, then we've got a problem that we've got to fix. And guess what? We've got the greatest news in the world. There's no greater news than this. This is the truth, and it will set them free. And they're not getting it, so I've got to figure out a solution to all this thing. We're having millennial meetings. I'm asking all the millennials in our church to come meet with me. Come have coffee. Let's talk. What's going on? Why are we not making this work? Because if we miss them, then my children won't have a church to go to. We'll be meeting in my house. I don't want that. Ken Ham. How do you know Ken Ham? You need to go back to that creation if you don't and learn about Ken Ham. He's written some amazing books. He's written a book called Already Gone. Have I read that? Already Gone. You need to pick that up sometime. His challenge in his book says this: we're not losing our kids in college. We're not losing them in high school. We're losing them in elementary school. They're already beginning to walk away from the faith in these early years. And he said, if we don't get back to getting our homes Christ-centered, we wonder, I sent my kids off to college. I don't understand why they don't want to talk about Jesus anymore. They stopped talking about Jesus long ago. And we got to go back to win our children. If we can't win our children, how are we going to win the world? You know, we've got to make this a focus. So I think Ken Ham is right on target. The typical Christian college, again, these are U.S. statistics, enrolls almost 2 women to every man. Christian colleges. Fewer than 10% of U.S. churches are able to establish or maintain a vibrant men's ministry. And this is what we're seeing. And I've mentioned, well, I'm going to give you some more tomorrow morning, more practical things. Tonight's just theory. I want you to hear it. In the class I'm teaching, and I teach all the men's classes in our church that are meeting under this direction that I'm talking about. On the Monday night, we have a couple nights a week, a couple Mondays a month. I've got about 14 guys in that class, I forget the number, 4 of them from other churches. And every one of them have told me the same thing. No one's investing in us. We've got a great music ministry. That was great singing, by the way. Thank you all. Ministering to my heart. And we got great kids ministries, man. We got kids running everywhere. We're taking care of our kids. That's good. And we got a great Sunday school. Oh, that's good. And the women's ministries, man. We got some great women's ministries. The women are really excited. And I said, tell me about your men. You go, well, it's harder today for the men. Jesus walked by the seashore, looked at men that are tough and hard. I grew up on the water, so I know the water people. There's some hardcore dudes. And he said, get out of your boats. Put your nets away and follow me. We need a high standard for our men, and we need to go after them, and we need to call them to take on kingdom business and stop building their own kingdom, and let's build the kingdom of God. And I don't apologize for it. Not everyone particularly likes my approach. They say, you're too strong. Well, listen, I don't have time to play games. I don't have time to do this. Time is short. In our country, we're losing the marriage debate. We're losing the baby debate. We're losing the old people debate. And we're losing the Word of God debate. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to sit and play games? I don't have time for that. I don't have time for a breakfast. Let's all just eat breakfast and hang out and pat each other on the back. I don't have time for that. Is that what you want? You're in the wrong crowd with me. I have a focus that says, let's get the men going. And if you don't want to be focused on Jesus Christ, go play your golf, go play your rugby, go do whatever you want to do. But as for me and my house, we're going after Jesus because I've got a short window of time. And if we don't make kingdom business a priority, we're going to see a less and less impact. Now, I'm convinced faith will be here when Jesus Christ returns. He's going to rapture his church. I'm a premill person. But I'm still confident of this, that we got work to do. Do you know in the 1040 window, I think all of you are familiar with the 10 degrees north and 4 degrees north picture that goes to northern Africa, all into the Asia area. There's 4.4 billion people there, and they suspect over 4 billion of them have never heard the name Jesus. Jesus said, go into all the world, make disciples. I can tell you right now, somewhere along the way, we've made a disconnect with the commands of Jesus Christ to get this message out. We knock on all the doors in our community. We have a group that goes out on Saturday mornings, just knocks on doors, says, can I tell you about Jesus? And our town is a rather conservative little town. 10,000, 20,000 people, small little town, fairly conservative. It votes conservative. It does all that. I cannot tell you if they knock on 100 doors on a Saturday, they may meet 1 or 2 Christian families. And you know what? We're in trouble. We're in trouble. Only 1 of 18 men profess faith in a church is involved in any kind of discipleship. 72 million children tonight all over the U.S. This is the U.S. 72 million children tonight in the United States will go to bed without a dad. 72 million. I can tell you right now, growing up in homes without a dad is a serious issue. So we got to reclaim our men. Look, you got her pregnant, then you marry her, and you be a daddy to those children. We just got to call the standard high. Don't you think Jesus would have done that? I just think we got Jesus watered down today, that you can kind of get in on the faith and kind of be a so-so Christian and without any kind of commitment and roll with things. And yeah, I'm a good old boy Christian. No, you're not. You're lost. That's not popular. But Jesus says a skinny road and very few people are getting in on it, which tells me there's a lot of professions and not a lot of possessions. Because every time Time and Newsweek comes out with another survey, they say, all this percentage of Americans are Christians. Then why are we letting abortion exist? Why are we letting the marriage bills fall apart? It's not true. And you shall know them what? By their fruit. You'll know them. 70% of Christian men admit to struggling with pornography. That's very serious. Stop over there and talk to those guys and see what can be done about this. David Morrow, his book, see one of his books was over there. The vast majority of men's programs die within the first 2 years of launch. Fewer than 10% of churches have any ongoing ministry to men. We wonder what we've done wrong. No one's going after men. Friends, there's a great need, and I just want to be passionate. I think you can probably tell right now I'm a fairly passionate guy. If you ever see my kids play sports and me on the sideline, you will know how passionate I can be. I'm surprised I have not been thrown out of the games. I'm passionate. I coached college basketball for a few years, and I'm not proud of any of this. I'm just being honest with you. I kicked the chair one time about 20 feet. It looked like Bobby Knight all over again. I'm intense in everything I do. It's just this is the way I live my life. But I don't want to the last breath that I breathe on this earth, I don't want Jesus Christ to find me have drifted through this world. I believe if I can't be passionate about Jesus Christ, what on earth should I be passionate about? What on earth? Why are men so neglected? I began to ask myself this question. Why are the men so neglected? I mean, why are we got all these grandiose, and let me just remind you, please don't neglect the women and children either, but the men are clearly neglected. And I'm hearing it from everywhere I go. Why is that? So I started wrestling with this a little bit, and I thought, I could not find one time, and maybe you know of one, and you can help my learning while I'm up here. I couldn't think of one time in Jesus' ministry where a woman really gave him a hard time. I started thinking about this, They washed his feet. They opened up their houses. They loved on him in a respectful way. I mean, even the woman at the well was very respectful. And I started asking myself the question, is this the reason why many churches are let's be realistic about these things. And I thought of my personal ministry. In 30 years being a pastor, I could probably tell you in a hand how many women have given me a difficult time. But I got a list of men. I can see why some pastors and some churches want to do women's ministry over men's ministries. I can really see that. And I thought that's some pride. And this, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think women are more appreciative. Thank you, Pastor, that was a great message today. How many men come by and really say, man, Pastor, that was a great message today? Christianity. Especially if you talk about men being a good husband. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. You want to try living that one for a while? Got to keep you busy. I tell you right now, that's not easy. Fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath. Really. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition. So women are just more appreciative. Men don't write cards. Men don't shop and think of you. And, women may say, look, we were thinking of you the other day. I wanted to bless you. I mean, and look, I'm not trying to be unkind, but women are more attractive. I mean, you may think you're a good-looking bunch, but you're not. I know I'm not. I look in the mirror, I got bags under my eyes, I got gray hair, I got hair growing in places the hair shouldn't be growing. I go to a barber shop and she says, where do you want me to cut? Your ear, your nose, your head? Like, pick one, go for it. Women are just more attractive. We have a policy at our church, I don't counsel women. And it's not because women don't need it at times, it's just because I don't trust the possibility that I could fall into sexual sin. I think, we got to put up guards. Get a hold of that pure ministry over there. Get your internets fixed and do all those things. I mean, we got a problem, man. And if we don't get to the, and I'm telling you, men, if we don't do that, we're not going to respect women the way they should be respected. If we don't get this figured out. Or if you don't teach the men in your church to do it, they're not going to respect the women properly either. So I think they're more appreciative, they're more attractive, and they're more willing to follow. I mean, just think about Jesus. I mean, watch the last hours of Jesus' life. He's invested 3+ years into all those guys. Where are they? But look at the women. Look at the women at the cross. His mother and the other women there. And then the tomb the next morning. Guess who's going to the tomb, right? Who is it? It's the women. More willing to follow. It's the women who are buying the more of the books. It's the women who are going to the seminars as far as how to be a better married life. We do a study once in a while of marriage, and we say, okay, in your marriage, husbands, rate your marriage from 0 to 10. 0 meaning you're bombing out, 10 meaning you're hitting a home run. And they write it on the card. And then we ask the wife to write the same thing. Which one do you think puts the higher number, the men or the women? Men. Every time. I got a great marriage. And it's the wife who's steadily calling him saying, you got to get hold of my husband. My husband's killing me. Like this. So typically, it's the men who have this overstated view. What do you mean? I got a nice home. There's food on the table. What more does that woman want? She may just need you to listen to her. She may just need you to love her like Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. We got our work cut out for us, man. More willing to follow. I think Satan is fighting hard our efforts because I believe, and I'm sharing my heart with you, discipling men is critical for the future of our churches. Someone asked me this morning, a great pastor's meeting, they said, we got so much on our plates. What are you doing? I said, let me switch gears just a moment. I personally believe in tithing. I believe in a percentage. I'm not locked on the 10%, but I believe you should tithe. And I think you should tithe through your local church. I think it should be the priority of your tithe. You want to give beyond that, that's up to you. You want to send me money, I'll take it. But give to your local church, all right? That's your priority. And someone will come to me once in a while and say, hey, you know what, I can't afford to tithe. And I say, no, you can't afford not to. You can't afford not to. And some people are going to leave and say, there's no way, I don't have time to add this into what I'm doing. Let me just tell you something. You can't afford not to. It's not because it's my idea. I'm going to defend it this week for you. If we don't claim our men for Christ, I believe others, men get busy. Have you ever noticed that? They're doing, in our country, Boy Scouts, sports teams. They got big TVs. The big thing in our country now is people build their houses and build these theaters in their house. And you got like a gigantic screen. I mean, it's a humongous screen and these leather seats. Well, what are you going to do in there? Like 8 hours a day or something? Men will be busy. Hobbies, work, pleasure, and they will keep busy. I am claiming our men for Jesus Christ. I don't know how many of you have seen the play Les Miserables. Have you seen that? A lot of you saw it. If you haven't, it's about, I don't think it's historically as accurate as they've tried to portray, but it's about the French Revolution. It was around the 1815, 1830 range. I want to take you to a scene in Les Miserables that is gripping. Those men are gathered, and you would remember if you've seen it, the men are gathered at a pub of some sort, and they're all talking about taking on the National Guard. They're strategizing. It's like the war room place. And one of the key men is not there, Marius. So they're talking, they're saying, the time is near, so near it's stirring the blood in our veins, and yet beware, don't let the wine go to your brains. For the enemy we fight is a dangerous foe with the men in the arms that we can never catch. Oh, it's easy to sit here and swat them like flies, but the National Guard will be harder to catch. We need a sign to rally the people, to call them arms, to bring them in line. As they're singing this, Marius comes in. And one of them says, Marius, you're late. What's wrong today? You look as if you've seen a ghost. Some wine and say what's going on. Marius speaks. A ghost, you say? A ghost may be. She was just like a ghost to me. 1 minute there and then she was gone. Now remember, they're in the middle of intense war room strategy on taking on the National Guard with limited supplies and limited men. And Marius comes in with this Google eye. And so one of them says, I'm agog, I'm aghast. Is Marius in love at last? I've never heard an ooh and I. You talk of battles to be won, here he comes like Don Juan. It's better than an opera. Then this man says this, it's time for us all to decide who we are. Do we fight for the right to a night of the opera now? Have you asked of yourselves, what's the price you might pay? Is it simply a game for rich young boys to play? The colors of the world are changing day by day. Then they sing the classic song, red, the blood of angry men, black, the dark of ages past, red, a world about to dawn, black, the night that ends at last. He's trying to get Marius to see, Marius, we're in a war here. Marius responds, had you been there tonight, you might know how it feels. To be struck to the bone in a moment of breathless delight. Had you been there tonight, you might know how the world might be changed in just one burst of light. And what was right seems wrong, and what was wrong seems right. Then he sings this, red, I feel my soul on fire. Black, my world, if she's not there. Red, the color of desire. Black, the color of despair. And then one of the men says this, Marius, you're no longer a child. I do not doubt you mean it well, but now there is a higher call. Who cares about your lonely soul? We strive for our larger goal. Our little lives don't count at all. And they sing red, the blood of angry men. Black, the dark of ages past. Red, a world about to dawn. Black, the night ends at last. I want to apply that spiritually, man. Have you asked of yourselves what the price you might pay? It's time for us all to decide whose we are. Have we been bought with a price? Is this world not our own? Doesn't it belong to him? Don't we belong to him? Does not he have the sovereign rights to dictate our lives? You know, when I was born again, I knelt down at an altar in a church and I said this, Jesus Christ, I give you my life. Now, I don't know how you define conversion. I think we can probably debate the words and how to go about it, but I can tell you what, I'm convinced salvation is a surrender of our lives to the Lordship of Jesus Christ. He's now my Lord and Savior. Now, I didn't live it perfectly, and I still don't live it perfectly, but if someone asks me who owns me, I say, I've been bought with a price, I'm not my own. So somewhere along the way, theologically, we got to go back to the basics of Jesus Christ. And he said, you need to leave your nets, you need to leave your tax collecting, and follow me. You say, well, are you saying everybody should be a full-time Christian minister? No. I'm just saying everybody needs to be a full-time Christian. It's not Sunday morning. It's not a couple hours a week. It's not throwing in Wednesday night to make me feel better. I've been bought. I've been purchased by the greatest price of anything ever paid in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Now I need to figure out, it's time for me to decide whose we are. What's the price that you're willing to pay? You know, I'm going to one day stand before my Lord and Savior and give account of my life. Guess what? You are too. And we're going to give account, and you can look at the passages if you like. Man, you can throw in Matthew where it says, every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account of it in the day of judgment. That's an interesting one to have study on sometime. Or you can go and just say, well, the passages of Romans and 2 Corinthians that talk about it, that you're going to stand before me and give account of your life, things done in the body, whether good or bad. I do not want to get there and have regrets. And I believe, if I believe I interpret Scripture correctly, there are going to be some who are going to be ashamed, 1 John 2 says, what? At his appearing. Now, why are you going to be ashamed? I got one life. It's a short window of time. My life's a vapor. It's gone by so fast. Now, I know I don't look 61. You probably thought I was like 37. I appreciate that. I respect that. 60, look, according to the Bible, I've only got really 9 more years I can be fairly comfortable with. 3 and 10 is what they kind of throw out there. And if he gives you more, good blessing. I feel healthy. I feel good. Maybe today's my last day. But I want to make sure it's lived right. I grew up in a home where my grandparents lived right down the street. I tell everybody, growing up, my grandfather was my best friend. He was the man's man. He hunted, he fished, he crabbed. I said I grew up on the water, so we were in the boat all the time. And wherever Pop went, I went. I'm even named after him. My H on my first of my name, that I don't go by my first name, is actually Horace. That was my grandfather's name. I was named after him. And we would go over and say, I lived there. Well, guess what? My grandmother, I think, was the greatest cook. Anybody have a grandmother you think was the greatest cook who ever lived? I'm telling you, that was my grandmother. She used to make this fudge. And I would go over her house, and I'd eat this fudge. And I was just a little kid, 8, 9, 10 years old. And one night, they decided to see how much fudge I could actually eat. And I was willing to the test. So I jumped in, and she fed me fudge and fed me fudge. And finally, I came to her after I'd had so much in me. I don't even know how much I ate. I came with a napkin and said, could you fill it up? I'm going to take it home. Well, not long afterwards, don't know how much long afterwards, my grandmother passed away. And you know what's disheartening about this? That recipe went with her. My mother never learned how to cook fudge like that. My wife didn't even know my grandmother. And that recipe is gone. And you know what? That just breaks my heart. But you know what's worse than that? Something's far worse than that? Is God investing in us spiritual things. Things we're learning in the morning. Things we're growing in our work. Things God's telling us about being dads, about being husbands, about being God-fearing men. God's pouring into us. And for many of us, it never leaves us. And one day we die. And what God has poured into us never goes anywhere else. Can I just tell you, that's not God's plan. You know what, a recipe for fudge? You know what? Do I look like I need some more fudge? That's okay. We can pass on that. But I am adamant about this. God is not pouring into your life, investing into your life by pastors, teachers, books, video, whatever, for you to just take it in. He wants to expand your life. And let me just take you to a few scriptures. No, we don't have much time left. Look, watch Jesus' example, and we'll just spend just a few short minutes with this, and then we'll close for tonight, or for this session. In Luke chapter 6, I guess it's probably a good thing we open the Bible, since this is a Christian thing this weekend. Luke chapter 6. And it came to pass in those days he went out to a mountain to pray and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called unto himself his disciples. Notice this? He spent all night in prayer, and the next day he calls these disciples unto him. And then he's going to invest into these men and train these men. And you've got to think about this for a minute. Jesus Christ is perfect, right? He's the perfect Son of God. There's no flaw in Jesus Christ. I want you to switch roles with Jesus for just a moment. Now you're Jesus, and I'm trying to be disrespectful. Would you have left the ministry into the hands of Peter and James? Now you know the second story, that's not fair, but knowing the story just on the front, would you have thought Peter, James, Johnson, these guys was a great group of men to leave it into? I mean, many of us would have said, oh my goodness, Peter just he just always speaks out of turn. And James and John are the sons of thunder. And Matthew, who knows if he's going to go back to wanting to rob people like he did as a tax collector. I mean, I don't know if I want my stuff in them. Jesus left it all into them. Now, of course, the Holy Spirit was going to guide them. I understand that. But he's convinced. Now look over at Matthew chapter 28. Matthew chapter 28. Look what he told his disciples. Verse 19. Go therefore and teach all nations. The better translation would make disciples. That's what the word actually means. Go therefore, make disciples of all nations, not just Northern Ireland. I do not believe this verse is no longer effective. I mean, we often call it today the Great Commission. I've renamed it. Not out of disrespect, just out of pure honesty. I now call it the Great Omission. Because that's where we're at. That's what he said. It's his last command. Go into all the world, make disciples of all nations. And this is teach them everything I've commanded you. So take everything I've taught you and teach. So that's what I'm trying to do at our church. I am committed to I'm not interested in making converts. Now, I do share my faith. I want to see people come to Christ. But I'm not interested in having some big crusade, 1,000 people walk forward and they go off and do their own thing. I would rather invest serious time in one person than make some spread. That's just me. I'm not telling you what you should do. But I believe we need to be passionate about it. And right now, with the situation we have in our church, in the world today, I'm concerned. A recent survey I saw, 95% of born-again Christians, according to a recent survey, never share their faith in their lifetime. You wonder why we're going from 65%, or 63% to 35% to 4%? Do you know why the church is losing the battles? We have a Sunday morning only Christianity. And the men come in, get a little shot in the arm, and then they go off and do their own thing in their own little world, and then they show back next Sunday, get another little shot in the arm, and they go back and do their own thing. So we need to call these men and say, look, we got kingdom business here. We got a world that's dying and going to hell. I don't know of any other solution the world has other than Jesus. Do you? I mean, I think Jesus is their only hope. And if Jesus is their only hope, and I happen to know Jesus, guess what? Today we were able to go down to Parliament. That was an amazing trip. But you know how I got into there? I got into there because of this guy. If I went to that door and said, hey, can you let me in? I'm Wally Webster. I'm speaking at a conference this weekend. You're going to let me in? They're going to go, ooh. I got in on it because he took me there. And I really believe there are men all around us who just want somebody to get a hold of them and take them there. And I believe we can be the speaker. Same thing, 2 Timothy 2:2. We don't have time to go through this because I think our time is out for this session. But I want to encourage you to look at 2 Timothy 2:2. Sometimes it's not just Matthew 28. It's 2 Timothy 2:2. It's Acts chapter 1. It is all through. Jesus took 11 men and turned the world upside down. The world. And the reason the gospel today is in Northern Ireland is because one of those apostles got the passion of it and taught someone else, who taught someone else, who taught someone else, to eventually it ended up on the shores of Northern Ireland. And today you have the gospel because they did exactly what Jesus told them to do. Now, will Northern Ireland continue to get the gospel? It's left up to us. And so I'm going to encourage you. We got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. And I want to encourage you to hold on to your seats. And I pray you'll come back tomorrow. We got another session tonight. And I'm just going to share my heart with you. And I just want you to know with all my heart, I believe the church is the only answer for the world's problems. The church. The only answer. But the church has got to get out of the walls. It's too inward. And just ask people today, when was the last time you passed a tract out? When was the last time you invited someone to church? When was the last time you shared your faith? And you'll find the numbers get smaller and smaller. Well, they don't want to hear it anymore. Well, let them decide that. Let them decide that. And I want to encourage you, we're on on a mission here. I came across this. This was written by a young pastor who was martyred for his faith in Zimbabwe. It's a quick read. Here's what he says. He wrote this just prior to his martyrdom for his faith. I'm part of the fellowship of the unashamed. I have the Holy Spirit's power. The die has been cast. I've stepped over the line. The decision is made. I'm his disciple. I won't look back. I won't let up. I won't slow down. I won't back away, and I will not be still. My past is redeemed. My present makes sense. My future is secure. I'm finished and done with low living, sight walking, smooth knees, colorless dreams, tame visions, worldly talking, cheap giving, and dwarf goals. I no longer need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, plaudits, or popularity. I don't have to fight. I don't have to be right, first, tops, recognized, praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now live by faith, lean in his presence, walk by his patience, and I'm lifted by prayer, and I labor with power. My face is set. My gait is fast. My goal is heaven. The road is narrow. My way is rough. My companions are few. My guide reliable. My mission clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not finish in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of the enemy, pander at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up until I've stayed up, stored up, prayed up, paid up, preached up for the cause of Christ. I'm a disciple of Jesus. I must go till he comes, give till I drop, preach till all know, and work till he stops me. And when he comes for his own, he will have no problem recognizing me. My banner will be clear. Please, I beg you, regardless of all that I've communicated tonight, I want you to ask yourself a very serious question. Am I a disciple of Jesus Christ? Is that what I am? And if you are, I got some things to share with you in the next session and tomorrow morning that I hope will really be a blessing to you. But how, as Ronald Reagan said, as many people wonder, they've lived their whole life and wonder if they've made a difference. I don't want that to be me. At a little town of 300 people, no one would ever thought that little scrawny, skinny kid would ever make anything of himself. I didn't. Jesus Christ took a bag of lunch and said, let me break it and feed the multitudes. Let me tell you something. Greater is he that's in you than he that's in Northern Ireland, correct? And we got a mission to reach our Northern Ireland and our world for Jesus Christ.